Hello, Dee Wymer, Archaeology Director of the Susquehanna River Archaeological Center. And I'm finishing up our discussion of the seriously cool bone stuff that we found. The last shelf, I wanted to highlight a single animal and the type of material that we get and how it shows they were used. And it happens to be a bear, black bear, which was probably not an animal they took frequently, but frequently enough that we do have a number of specimens of teeth and their large giant canines, other parts of their body. Imagine maybe 1 or 2 black bears a year would have been critical. You have to keep in mind that for bears to be able to hibernate properly, and by late fall they have to have amassed a huge amount of fat so they can hibernate over winter. That fat is what the Native Americans were after, not just because of the intense calories, but also think about the uses for it. They didn't have hand lotion. What do you do if you have rough, sore skin? Bear fat, you could also mix up grind up medicinal plants to mix with the fat. So that fat was critical. So at least 1 or 2 bears a year was key for Native Americans around here. What we have down here is showing the wide variety. So we have, and we did recover a number of bear molars. And I knew right away what these were when they first showed up at the site, when the lads and gals were pulling them out of our excavation screens. Because first of all, there's not many animals that have teeth that size. Secondly, you take a look at the pattern of the enamel on the surface. That's from an omnivore, a non-specialist in terms of their diet. So actually, it kind of looks like a large version of our own back teeth. Think about what bears eat. They eat pretty much everything. Plants, berries, animals, fish. So their teeth reflect that. So even if I didn't know what the species was at first, I was able to suss it out by just some of these general characteristics and then looking at specimens to verify that. So we've got teeth. We actually have a bear claw. Now this is the bony part, right? So imagine it would have been sheathed, and that type of keratin material, it's like your fingernails. That's just the bony part. We also had at least, I think, 3 or so of the big, look how big that thing is. That is a bear canine, right? Eye tooth, I guess would be called in everyday language. We've got, I believe 3 or 4 of these in which they had turned these into pendants. It's very hard to see, but there's actually a groove. You can see it better on this one. It's actually a groove that they put in the root. So this is the root, and this one really got broken. So this would be the root, and this is the enamel part. So they would turn these into pendants until they broke and threw them away. We also have just, and I knew this was bear just by how massive the bone is, just a long leg bone, probably the femur splintered or their lower leg, and it's been used. It's really dense and tough, and they've used it as some type of punch or awl. We also have, this one's really cool. They used every part of every animal. So this is the mandible, the lower jawbone, just one side of it. And they literally have pulled the teeth out. They cut into it. They cut the back end off. So this is actually kind of all chopped up. They pulled, that is where that big canine would go. I'm not sure what they were doing with the teeth, but they definitely wanted the teeth on this one. And then this was really, really, really cool to find. This is the entire base. So right back here, where your skull sits on top of your spinal column, right? That opening. So that's the occipital bone of a bear. And you can see how massive, right? That's dense, massive bone. So it's just the back part. You can see it's been cut. See that beautiful straight cut? Undoubtedly, they were deliberately doing this to extract the brain. Not only because it's good protein, but historic sources indicate that the brain would be used to help tan deer hides. So we've got some extraction of the brain from this critter. And then lastly, just a few other odds and ends. Antler. It's been spliced. See, it's kind of beat up. So this is another tool that was probably used for flaking the fine edges from their arrows. And then I had to throw some botanical in. And we've got charred black walnut nutshell. The botanical material is critical because it's this material that I have sent off to radiocarbon labs to get as precise as we can at this point in time dates on the occupation of the site. So that is where the information's coming from, that the site dates to, around 1100 AD from a series of radiocarbon dates on organic material like nutshell.